Well, today's the summer solstice as we bake here in California. Forecast for today, 106. It was 102 when I left, 100 in the pink barrio. So we're going to go over here in the trees and do a video. I'm going to be soaking wet and dripping, but that's just part of climate change, isn't it? Okay, I'm in the trees. It's a little bit cooler, probably about 100. That's 100 degrees Fahrenheit that we're talking about. I'm feeling as if we're quickly coming to an end because of this extreme heat, but I feel I should do something for the environment every day that I can, even though it's probably too late. Green hydrogen, produced using electricity from renewable power. That is what green hydrogen is. Now, hydrogen can be used in the transportation of vehicles such as ships, boats, trucks, and heating, industrial heating. But it's not very good for cars, at least not yet. And I think the car has to be gotten rid of anyway. Buses, green hydrogen would work just fine. This remains costly though, unfortunately. Gray hydrogen, it is derived from natural gas, coal, and oil. So as you know, gray hydrogen isn't going to do you any good. You might as well just use natural gas for transportation or oil. It's just, why turn something dirty into something clean, then burn it, and in the process you put out more CO2 than if you just used oil or gas, natural gas. So gray hydrogen isn't really a good alternative. Due to losses during production, about 50% more CO2 is emitted than if natural gas were directly burned. The drawback with the hydrogen method is that it is roughly double the cost and lacks production facilities at a large scale. Now we have to remember that hydrogen is the most abundant chemical there is in the universe. That's why it's so good to use hydrogen if you can. The best way to use it is solar panels or water or wind. Make hydrogen out of that. Use that electricity to make hydrogen, then use that hydrogen for your transportation needs. The way it works, it splits water into hydrogen and oxygen, and the oxygen is released, so we get more oxygen out of water that naturally wouldn't be in the air. So we increase our oxygen, and the hydrogen is used to burn and then comes out as steam. Hydrogen makes up only 0.03% of global energy production. Some countries have a clear priority to power energy with hydrogen. France is going to use nuclear energy. China, coal and gas. Some countries solar power, some countries wind power or wind turbines. The reason I bring up hydrogen so much is because it is a clean fuel. It is a truly clean fuel and has a double side effect of giving us more oxygen. Right now we're burning up oxygen in the process of fires, combustion, and other processes that are using up our oxygen levels on the planet Earth. Unfortunately, as we said, it's just a beginning fuel. We've tried it 3 times before, in the 70s, in the 90s, and now. And each time we run into the same problem. It's extremely expensive and takes a lot of energy to make hydrogen. If you think about it, you have to make solar panels to make hydrogen. And making solar panels out of fossil fuels means it's going to take a lot of hydrogen to make up for the CO2 put in the atmosphere by making the solar panel. So we're sort of, like I said many times, we're in a sticky wicket. And unfortunately, there's not much we can do about it. So one of my commenters talked about a climate get-together that didn't do too well. They ended up screaming at each other. That was supposed to be a predecessor of the COP22, which doesn't surprise me a bit, and that's why there isn't any news on it, because these climate fests don't do anything. They get a lot of countries and a lot of companies to say, oh yeah, we'll pledge to this and we'll pledge to that, but of course they immediately break their pledge and go just exactly the opposite of what they pledged. And that is pretty typical of what's happening with these climate conferences and the like. They're not really good for much of anything. Now, unfortunately, here in the U.S., we have a right-wing takeover of the U.S., which is becoming worse and worse. Now, I have a video to show you that just explains just a little bit of their tactics that are being used. But a lot of corporate MSNBC is now talking openly about how the U.S. has become a fascist country. And it's important that we pay attention to this, because a lot of these right-wing nutballs are talking about civil war here in the U.S. because they think that their way is the only way, and that's the only way we can solve any problem, even though they have no interest in climate change at all. And they don't really care about how hot it gets, just as long as they have their big SUVs and pickup trucks to hang all their guns and ammunition from. So go down to the description area and you'll see the link to the nutballs and what they're doing. And it's unfortunate that this is happening to our country. Now, this is Rachel Maddow who's explaining it to us. So it's not some fringe left-wing kind of thing. It's mainstream news. And tonight, don't forget, is the ongoing January 6th hearings of what's going on with Donald Trump and his takeover of the U.S. through violent means. Sounds like the trees are so hot they're splitting or something. So with that, I'm going to go and put some ice on me to try and cool down and get through this day of 106 plus temperature. And with no wind or breeze of any kind, it's going to be a miserable day. But I guess we should just get used to it, because it's going to become the norm. Here on this summer solstice day, longest day of the year. And until next time, I appreciate all the ups, the downs, and you subscribe.